Hi guys, and welcome to the new segment of Hot in Harlem. Today we have a very special guest, a very famous poet from Harlem. Please welcome Claude McKay.
Hello, nice to meet you.
So, how are you liking America?
It's very nice, but you know, it's not anything like where I come from, Jamaica.
Yeah, I understand. You spend a lot of your time in Jamaica?
Well, yeah, I was born and actually raised there, but my parents, Thomas and Hannah, actually made me move with my brother when I was very young.
Why is that?
Well, because they believed I could get a better education living with him because he was a school teacher, and actually they were right. I started writing poetry when I was only 10 years old.
Wow. And who influenced you to keep writing?
Well, when I turned 17 years old, Walter Jackal became my mentor. He encouraged me to write dialect verse and even turn some of my verses into songs.
Oh, it's really good to hear. Is that when you decided to move to the U.S.?
Well, I moved to the U.S. in 1912, but by then I already been publishing 2 volumes of dialect verse, one being called The Songs of Jamaica and the other called Constant Ballads.
And I heard it was easy for you to adapt to the United States.
Well, I would have to give credit to Walter for that one. He provided me with a great financial gift that allowed me to move to New York and marry my childhood sweetheart, Eulalie Lewis.
Well, in the U.S., did you have to face any obstacles or struggles?
Well, when I came to America, I did have to struggle with racism when I was studying at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama while I was studying agronomy.
Was it those harsh realities that influenced you to create some of your best poems, such as If We Must Die, The White House, and The Lynching?
Well, of course, being African American in America, I did experience racism, and that racism helped me to create some of my best poetry. But it wasn't until the Red Summer of 1919 that I started writing poems about racism in America.
What do you remember of the Red Summer of 1919?
Well, I remember the race riots, and I remember white Americans attacking us African Americans. But thankfully, God was there to bless me and my family and help us get through those hard times safely, and I can't thank Him enough for that.
Aside from your poems, what other bodies of writing have you created?
Well, as a socialist, I was an editor for the magazine The Liberator, and I was also doing a lot of writing for left-wing publications.
Well, you are a very dedicated man. Did you ever take a break?
Why, yes I did. I traveled to Europe, the Soviet Union, and Africa. However, I never took a break from writing. While in the Soviet Union, I kept journalist essays, and I even turned the essays into a book called The Negroes in America.
Claude, you have inspired many with your inspirational poems. Pioneers from the Negritude literary movement are inspired by you. How does it feel to know that you have inspired not only them, but many other African Americans as well?
Well, I feel very blessed and honored to be known as an influential poet, and I owe it all to God for helping me throughout my life. And I just hope that I can keep inspiring young writers and novelists to do their best.
All right, well, while we take a quick break, we'd like you to enjoy our new segment with What's Up, Wendy.
Thank you, Sarah. You're watching a new segment of What's Up, Wendy, where I let you know what's up in the world. Since our special guest is Claude McKay, we will be talking about the Harlem Renaissance, which was from the 1920s to 1930s. This time can be better known as the New Negro movement. The Harlem Renaissance was a custom social and artistic explosion that took place in Harlem, New York. Harlem was full of black writers, artists, musicians, poets, etc. During this time period, the voice of African Americans were being heard through arts. The nation's total wealth doubled from 1920 to 1929, which led to a consumer society. This fluctuation of money mainly occurred in urban areas such as New York City. New inventors and technology, many young people, and new opportunities like the purchasing of cars, which gave people freedom. Great wealth led to extravagant parties where people overindulged in liquor, which the 18th Amendment then banned the manufacture and sale of intoxicating liquors. Jazz music was very popular during this time, which started famous dances such as the Charleston, the Cakewalk, and the Black Bottom. African American poets played a big role in the Harlem Renaissance, and that's why we have Claude McKay on as our special guest today. So let's get back to the show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, Claude, I'd like to ask you, what can you tell us about your autobiography, A Long Way From Home?
Well, when I returned from Morocco back to the United States in 1930, I had joined the Federal Writers Project in 1936, and then in 1937 I finally finished the book. However, because of my race, I never received the recognition that I should have.
Oh, well, did you ever go back to Jamaica to visit?
Well, I never went back to my homeland, but in 1940 I did become a U.S. citizen of the United States.
Wow, that's great to hear, Claude. So how have you been holding up these past couple of years with your health and home life in general?
Well, recently I was diagnosed with heart disease and high blood pressure.
Yes.
So this has limited all the stuff that I can and cannot do now. But I recently sought out and found a new religion. I embraced Catholicism to strengthen my relationship with God and help me get through these hard times. I have also joined the Catholic Youth Organization in Chicago.
Well, Claude, I'd like to ask you something. Would you please do us the honor of performing one of your poems for us?
Yes.
So, Claude, what poem will you be performing for us today?
I'll be performing my famous poem, America. Let me just get into my poem reading state. Lights. Okay. America. Although she feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my breath of life, I will confess I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. Her vigor flows the tides into my blood, giving me strength, erect against her hate. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood, yet as a rebel fronts a king in state, I stand within her, walls with not a shred of terror, malice and not a ward of jeer. Darkly I gaze into the days ahead and see her might, and granite wonders there beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand.
Bravo, that was so good.
Thank you.
It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. You are such an inspirational writer, and you have changed the times of the Harlem Renaissance with just words. I can't thank you enough for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. It was such a great experience. I'll be
Goodbye.
on my way now.
Goodbye. I'll see you next time on Hot in Harlem.
Today, on May 22nd, 1948, we gather here to honor one of the most influential poets of the Harlem Renaissance, Claude McKay. On this day, Claude McKay passed away from heart failure. However, that will not stop us from remembering his legacy. McKay wrote numerous influential poems, from America to If We Must Die to Futility. He devoted his life in writing to protesting and helping his fellow African Americans. He not only protested for them, but also influenced other young African Americans to pursue their dreams of becoming writers and poets. Claude McKay has made a significant impact on the Harlem Renaissance, and he will forever be in our hearts.